Okay, so this is the tutorial for laser cutting. So a quick overview is all of the blue is going to be etchings, and that has to be RGB blue as well as 0.001. Red is marked for the cuts, and that also has to be RGB red and 0.001 line width as well. The black is going to be rastering, and it has to be black RGB, and you can do this in a PNG image as well. When you open up Adobe, just hit File, New, and then you can choose the name of your project and the size. The width of the bed is 32 by 18. That's normally what I'll set my projects to. If I don't know what the size of my wood is going to be, the other option is to set it to the size of your wood. So if it's 8 inches by 8 inches, or whatever size your wood is, just set it to that. But like I said, I normally just set it to 32 by 18. When I start a project, I make multiple layers, and I change the colors to the colors that are going to be used. So red is for cutting, blue is for etching, and the black is for rastering. The laser cutter is 18 by 32 inches. So I have it preset to make my Adobe files 32 by 18. If you're cutting something off of a smaller piece of wood that isn't this full size of the bed, then you can make your file the size of your wood. So my object is going to be a square that is 4.5 on all of its corners. The other way to make your squares is by just doing lines, and then make sure that your thing says anchor over top when you're making your lines, so you make sure that they connect. And the reason there's two ways to do this is because when you erase an object, you click on it, highlight it, and take your eraser and just go over your line. When you do this with a square, it takes it out and it basically makes it so that it acts like the square is filled. So if you're going to erase part of it, don't use the square or the circle tools. If you click and hold, then you can get to the rest of them. The other option, why if you're going to erase some of it, use the line tool, is this, and you can just erase, try go along it, or you can just go bloop, and if you only want part of it, you can just hit delete. Oops. Click off of it so you're only selected on that one object, and then you can hit delete. So I normally just do the lines just in case. It just seems to always work better. So next, you go to if you want a rastered image. So basically any picture. I'm going to do a Celtic border. And then you want to go in and go to the settings, tools, and size, and get it larger than 160, because then you're more likely to get the quality and just be able to copy it straight on. So the best ones to have are PNGs. So this is a good size. I'm not actually going to use this one because I made my own. But you can just take this and download it. Once you download it, just open it up and show in folder, and it'll take you right to the image. When you look at the image, you can see the checkered backgrounds means that it's a PNG, and that these white backgrounds mean that it's a JPEG. So from there, you just drag it in, and then resize it, and you can see that you can already see the image through the PNG. If you have an image that isn't already a PNG, just turn off the back layer in Photoshop and make sure it has the checkered background, then save it as a PNG. If there is only one layer, then go ahead and delete all the colors that aren't black or retrace it in black. When you drag the image over the already drawn layers, then you can see through it, and that's why you want to do PNGs. If you accidentally put it into a JPEG with the white background, one, you'll be able to tell by the white background. Two, when you press the JPEG, and it'll show JPEG inside of the file. And lastly, you'll be able to tell when you can't see anything through the image. Remember, when you are pasting an object into Adobe, that you select the layer that you want the object to be on before you paste it in. The other thing is you can select it, this little down arrow, and you can then move the select any ones you want and then drag them over to another layer. I'm going to make another layer because I'm going to put another image and trace over top of it. So I already have an image saved, so I'm going to go and select it and bring it in the same way as we did before. Bring it in, just drop it in. And then I know I want the circle to be a certain size, so I'm going to select the tool for circles. And it's actually called the Ellipse Tool. All you have to do is just make sure that you choose the to make the height and width the same. If you link it, then it changes. So let's say if I make it 2, if you link it and then change it to 3, then it will change automatically, and scale it, and it will keep the same proportions. So then if I unlink it and make them both 3, oops, don't hit enter afterwards, I'm just used to doing that. So then you link it, and then change one of them to 2.5, and then they'll both change to 2.5. So that's about the size that we want. And what I do is, since I know this is, I'm going to be tracing onto the blue layer, I am making it on another blue color. So then we go up and you hit transform, right click and hit transform and hit scale, and then you get to choose the size percentile. So like Photoshop, you can grab the edges and scale it this way. And just make sure you hold shift, otherwise it'll go all whapper jawed and won't be the same size. So, and then back to here, if like Photoshop, you can change the order of the different layers and it'll change what you see. So then now that I have that to the right size, I'm going to delete it. You can also just hide it. So now I have that, so now I'm going to go over here, I'm going to click on the pencil, and I'm going to change my color to blue. So this pencil does just whatever you draw. So you can do it any way you want. Unlike the line tool, which only does lines, it can do arcs, and it can do spirals, and there's a few other things too, but only ones I really use is the arc and the line tool. So I'm just gonna go trace this dragon. And one thing you'll notice is when you're working with it, is when you make a line and then if you start similarly, it'll change where it's going. So you can edit it in that way. But if you start like over here and go, it'll start a new one. And if you start here and go like that, then it'll change the entire way of what it was facing. So that's something you're just going to have to get used to and deal with. You can also just go and draw another line if you're too close. Also, if you know, like here, I know I'm going to go back, so I'm just, even if you don't get it right the first time, you can just redraw it. I'm going to delete these and make the thickness of my pencil smaller. So you do that by going up here, going to point. I'm going to change it to 1, and that should be big enough. So you're going to make it even smaller for the laser cutter. It's going to be 0.001. So I'll just finish drawing this real quick. Alrighty, so I have my dragon drawn, and now I'm going to draw the other things around it. I'm actually going to redo that circle real quick, just so that I can have a reference of the designs and where it's going. One thing you can do is, since I have repeating things over and over again, I'm just going to draw one and then I'm going to copy it and rotate it. So over here, start with the water, just go whoop. So I'm going to hit that. I'm just going to set it over here just in case. So then, in rotating, you're going to have to rotate it by angles. The other way is to just, like Photoshop, go right next to it and do it by hand, which is normally, with something like this, is what you're going to do. So, do this a couple times. And the reason I send it off to the side is just in case I mess up or I need it later. I don't have to try and go through all the layers and get it again. Or I don't have to redraw it either. So my next one, make that circle disappear, and then I'm going to draw 2 of these actually. Actually, I'm going to select both of them, copy it, paste, move it over here, and then transform, reflect. You can choose horizontally, or you can choose the angle. So I'm going to say it's about 45, and reflect it like that. And then I can rotate it a little and make it to what I want. And so like I said earlier, you can drag things to a different layer. And that's what I'm going to do with this circle, because sometimes I just want to use only this, turn off only the circle, and now there's getting so many things on this layer that I would prefer to have it only on another one. Where did that circle go? Then when you select something, it shows up over here, and you can just select over here as well. So then move it up here. I'm just going to draw these ones by hand. I'm not going to copy them or anything. Because these ones are a little bit different. And I'm going to again transform it, reflect. So I'm just going to hit horizontal, vertical. And turn it a little. There you have it. Your etchings and your cuts are going to have to be, so your red and your blue are all going to have to be 0.001 in order to laser cut. Your black can be whatever shape and size you want it to be, including the images. As long as it's completely black, it'll work. And it has to be RGB. This is the final image of the project. Save the file as an Adobe Illustrator file onto a flash drive, and then take it to Ted downstairs in the woodshop, and he will help you print it out.